closed.
We'll never even start. All right. We will call to order the work session for Wednesday, December 3rd, 2025. First on the agenda is Planning Commission interview, candidate interview. Rob, thank you for showing up tonight. I think we have one question. You sure you want to do this again?
Yes.
Okay.
Does anybody else have any other questions?
Nope.
Sounds great.
Okay.
You'll get a pay raise?
Yes.
Sure, we'll double.
Doubled.
We will,
Oh, yeah.
we
good.
will double the pay. Councilor Todd, do you have any questions for our planning commission candidate if he wants to do it, if he wants to do this again?
What was the best thing you did this, your last term?
He takes it seriously.
The best thing I did last,
Yeah, what did you enjoy the most?
oh, I enjoyed it all the time. But
Pick a thing.
probably the best thing I did all last term, it didn't do anything stupid.
Honestly, that's a
Well,
solid
you know,
answer.
Solid answer.
I really like that answer, all right.
Well, you know, you don't want to embarrass yourself because you're on camera.
I will,
Good answer, survey says.
I will say that you were the one who asked about the bunnies.
Sorry again?
The bunnies. You remember remember the bunnies? Remember when we were dealt with the power pole?
Yeah.
When Jeff and I were on there with you?
Yeah.
And asked about the environmental impact and the bunnies.
Yeah.
You specifically said bunnies.
Did I say bunnies? I don't remember.
You said bunnies.
I might have.
And we got a really good answer.
I don't remember. Was it yesterday? No.
No,
It was
okay.
probably 3 years.
It was a number of years ago.
Ask me what I had.
It was a good question.
Yeah.
So Rob, I mean, I do, I mean, I don't have any questions. I think you've done a great job, and I just want to tell you, thank you for stepping up and willing to take that time to come out and participate in the whole government experience and the planning commission, because there's a lot of folks that talk about it, and there's more than a lot of folks that don't do anything about it. So the fact that you show up and your attendance, that's very meaningful.
Thank you. I believe that if you don't participate, you can't complain.
Exactly.
You're not wrong there.
I'll say the last thing, and then just quoting Jeff, the packets for planning commission are bigger than the packets for city council.
Yes.
Well, I know, that's it.
It's harder.
To be truthful,
more.
it's a lot of work.
Yes.
If you do it right.
It is.
So the fact that you want to keep doing it, thank you.
Yes.
I mean, you're talking to a city council that the majority of us have served on that committee. So we have
Yeah.
high respect for it, and we appreciate it.
I actually read everything.
Look at you.
Well, I come from a background in contract construction management. So I'm used to regulations and laws and rules. That's it.
Works for us.
You know, when I got the Benita Jenkins Award, Ted Tostrad was the guy who presented it to me. And I'll never forget what he said when he handed it to me. He says, it takes a lot of volunteers to get the city's work done. And if we did not have as many volunteers as we have, we would not get our work done. No, we wouldn't. And I firmly believe that.
Thank you.
So thank you for be willing to do that.
Yeah, I enjoy it. I've retired 3 times, so.
One of these times you'll get it right.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to keep up with my dad. My dad retired 5 times. He retired from the military after 30 years, and then he got a job. And then he retired after a couple of years, got another job. And he just finally quit totally. I figure I'll do that one of these days. Anyway,
Don't quit yet. We need you.
I will.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. I think we're good.
We're good? We're good? Thank you,
Yeah.
gentlemen.
I think your odds are really in your favor.
Well, I didn't think there'd be a lot of candidates because.
Honestly, I'd love it if there were, but that's okay. We'll take what we get.
Yeah.
We appreciate it.
Great, thank you. You guys have a good meeting.
Thanks, Rob.
And you, and you, and you.
Thank you for coming in.
Consultant's not
I noticed that, so we can,
here. She's stuck in traffic. She said she'll be here about 7 minutes.
no worries, we can, I'll hold my toes very low.
Do you
Yeah,
want me to pause?
yeah, let's pause. No, let's take a little recess here.
I don't walk that fast, Deborah.
Oh. You're right.
Yeah, we're good.
Have a happy holiday.
trying to make it.
Sorry, I'm just trying to.
Yeah, nope, you're absolutely correct. Cool.
Now we are back on.
Back on.
Yes, we'll
I
take-
think, sorry.
Go ahead, please.
No, I think it would be a good idea to wait.
Okay, so just for the record, it is being suggested that we alter tonight's agenda to not appoint members to public safety as well as parks committees in order to allow Councilman Weber to come in and voice her infinite wisdom on these candidates. Sound good?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. We will make the call during the official meeting, but that is.
So there'll be a motion and a second and a thing to change the agenda during a meeting, is that the?
We'll need to at the start of the meeting
Yeah,
announce
just
just
amend it.
basically what you just announced.
Yeah, it's not, it's an announcement, it's not a motion.
Okay. I just want to make sure.
There we go.
Yeah, but we can change the order of things we do. We haven't done it a lot lately, but it has.
On occasion, yeah.
Yeah. So that might mean the meeting just got really short.
Yeah. Did I mention I had jury duty at 8 o'clock this morning?
A couple times.
They actually,
No, 11 they said, because I said, I won't repeat the other joke, but at 11 they said, get out.
Yeah, I think they
there
just
you-
changed this. I was just
Okay, they
seeing
need
this
to
today.
stop
Yeah.
doing things like that. Now, the
Other
only.
than one now?
Interface.
Oh, are we having a Windows 11 problem?
Windows 95.
Oh, my gosh.
I clicked on Windows ME.
Yeah, that was my first computer.
Windows ME sucked. XP was fine.
I loved XP actually.
I'm not as good at, this is a PDF, so I was gonna, do you know how to make it a full?
Top right, the square. All the way up.
That'll just take the,
Browser. Have you
Oh,
downloaded it?
no, okay. That's what I use to make things fill the whole screen.
Yeah, I don't think
No.
it's there, though.
Oh, okay, not on this, okay.
you could ask.
Not as good with PowerPoints as I am with. I could do what?
We're good.
we can accept whatever.
Okay.
I was kind of being serious, but.
We're not,
But not yet.
I got a new phone yesterday, and the first thing I did is disable all AI.
You see the slides.
I am.
How do you do that?
There's a whole bunch, I hand it to my son, and he knows how to, because
Okay,
he's 13, so he knows how to, like, and he just got the same phone, and he went and did like 5 things, and like, now,
Okay, yeah,
That'll work, okay.
okay, it's up on these
you can
screens.
still turn around.
I don't think the clicker's gonna
Even
work.
after you take it off, can't you?
Yeah, so you can scroll or you can use the, whatever you
there's a
prefer,
couple of things he did.
Can you handle it?
the arrows.
Want help? Yeah, I'll bring Henry in sometime if you
Yeah.
want help with that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Disable everything
Let's go to the next.
you want.
No, because it's,
Okay.
yeah,
I'll bring it.
yeah, you have to
Be,
scroll. And last time I converted a PDF to a PowerPoint, I ended up scrambling some data. It didn't translate right, so this is.
I can scroll.
I was apprehensive to do that again.
I can be your scroller.
I think it's okay. I think.
So many
I'll let
comments.
you know if
Yes.
we need a change, but.
All right, let me know when you're ready there.
I think we're ready.
All right, I wanted to bring Megan Waver back. She's with Praxis Political. She's our
Welcome back.
consultant. She and I meet at least every other week, and she's been doing a great job. She's been working on an article for our newsletter. She has also been working on text and pictures for our website. We're building a page. Well, everybody's building a page. And she's also worked on the trifold, and she's put together this update. This is, reminder, this is the training, kind of how to address everything. So unless you have anything else, I wanted to turn over to you. And I've got these whenever you want me to pass them on.
Awesome. Excellent. Well, it's good to see you all again. I know when we met before, we talked about kind of the future work that was going to happen on fire and emergency services. And now I'm back with some of these updates. We have spent the last couple months working on building out the messaging. So I think, that started with kind of a Word document message framework, as we call it, that I think all of you have seen. And then from there, we produce different materials with that message framework. The trifold you will see is one of them, the website content, and then, this training and the different messaging we have laid out here. So the goal of this is twofold. It's to really make sure you're all on the same page. You are trusted liaisons in this community. People will come to you and ask you about this, and you're a good source of information. So we want to make sure you feel comfortable talking about it. Also that you have kind of a best foot forward, right? We have a pretty good sense of the information and the messaging that is going to be impactful on this. And so, packaging that up in the best way to distribute to your community. And this is really structured in two ways. One is, to give you information for one-on-one conversations, but also, this presentation is kind of the basis for, if you are a member of Rotary and you're invited to go to your Rotary and give a presentation on what the city council is working on, or, want to give an update on fire and emergency service. So it's also through that lens. And our ultimate goal here, as you all know, is working toward that fire district. So it is kind of painting the picture along the way of what the problem is and then what the solution is and how you all are working to get there over time. So, you don't have anything on the ballot in May, for example. There's nothing urgent to communicate to people, but it's laying the groundwork over time for this problem and the solution. So the first piece are just some best practices. I'm sure these are things you use kind of regularly in your life, but leading with your values to create shared understanding. I think a great way to do that, if you have an experience with fire and emergency service in your community, if you have a particular priority or concern around it, you can add your values and story into it. Similarly, personalizing the conversation. A conversation about fire and emergency services might look different if you're talking to someone who's 18 versus someone who's 85, right? They have different concerns when it comes to fire and emergency services. So, personalizing the conversation, you certainly aren't, wed to exactly the text that's on this PowerPoint. I think that's important. Encouraging conversations, listening, validating what people are saying, making it a conversation, asking them, what's most important to you, sharing what your concerns are or what's important to you and making it a conversation. I'm sure you all practice this a lot as elected officials, but welcoming feedback and criticism and trying to build connection over that. Again, this really isn't a controversial issue, and you're not asking for a significant amount of money yet. This isn't on the ballot, so this shouldn't be, a big issue, but, just keeping that in mind. And then using a lifeline if it becomes a difficult conversation. You will see there's a lot of data here. There is also a lot of stakeholders, right, with the different cities. So making sure that you kind of prioritize transparency and accuracy. And if you don't have the information, tell them you'll follow up with them, or that someone from the city will follow up with them, and make sure that happens instead of, getting stuck in the moment and not having the right answer. So to start with, this is kind of we're trying to be as succinct as possible, right? This is setting you up for a conversation. So really focusing on the core details. There's so much information in the situation, right? And so much you could say, but really focusing on, we've contracted with the city of Gresham for these services for decades. Due to the rising costs, we've determined to move to a fire district is more sustainable and a long-term financial solution. So here's what that would mean for Fairview and why we believe a fire district is necessary to improve and sustain these services. And we've really whittled this down to 4 core items. So the first is the problem, right? We need to improve fire and emergency services. The next 2, well, really is just another problem, which is that costs are increasing and property taxes don't cover them. So those, I would say, are really our 2 core themes. This idea that we need to improve services and that costs are rising and property taxes alone don't cover them. And then the 4th kind of brings that all together to say we're working on ways to address this. So this is diving into that first theme there about why we need to improve fire and emergency services. And I will underscore this by saying when we went over the polling at the last meeting, one of the things that was clear in the polling is that community members across the 3 cities do not think there is anything wrong with fire and emergency services. They are fine, they're satisfied with the service. So ultimately, if we're going to ask them to transition to a fire district and make a larger investment, we need to paint the story, which is accurate, paint the picture, which is accurate, that various analyses have shown that current response times are too slow and they don't meet national standards. And I think one of the things that's really important here is that what we were focusing on is, it's because of a lack of resources. We have, great firefighters out there. It's not that any of them are bad. It's that a big part of it, right, is this travel time, that our fire and emergency response are coming from a fire station on the west side of Troutdale for the most part. And so our goal as a city is to add another station closer to us in a central location, which will help us get there quicker in an emergency. So that's really, summarizing, and I know there's kind of so many different directions we could go with that, but trying to be as succinct as possible. And this is backed up by this data. And, I recognize you wouldn't have this in a one-on-one conversation with someone, but I think, we have valuable data here based on the report you all invested in, that a majority of Fairview is currently in a zone where travel times are up to 8 minutes. And that's represented on this map. And travel time is only one component of overall response time, right? So really focusing in on these times, why it's like that, the travel time piece, and kind of what that ultimate solution is that the city's working towards.
Can I say something, Megan?
Yeah.
So this is something Megan proposed, that we, instead of saying response time, say travel time, because then it breaks out the pieces, because it's really the distance. It's not that the fire department can't respond well, it's that there's that distance to travel. So that's why this, currently it talked about response time, now we're focusing more on travel. Thank you.
So that is kind of the first theme. I guess I will take a break here to say, are there any kind of questions or comments about that theme of response time?
Somebody else first. I just took about from my French.
No, I'm just going to ask a question to ask a question. So on we're going to call it the south side of the city there by Chinook Landing, some 8-minute response time that would look like maybe my neighborhood where I reside, looks like it's more in the red, like the 8-minute. So I'm just curious.
Closer to 10.
In this, I'm sorry.
The chart that had the little numbers that we did at the Fairview on the Green said 10 plus for your neighborhood.
Okay, but but how in the world can there be that little pocket of space that's an 8-minute response time? Oh my goodness sakes.
You need a laser pointer.
This just doesn't make sense to me. How can this be 8 minutes here? Right?
Faster roads.
This block, let me
Sorry.
answer the question.
I'm sorry.
10 minutes here, 10 minutes here. Why is that 8?
Yeah.
And it's not like a pivotal,
Sure.
but why, how can that be?
I love that you think I'm qualified to answer this question. AP Triton prepared this report. I think we would have to ask them unless.
Yeah, I mean, it would just seem to me, this is probably a very close depiction as to what it is, but it would seem to me like red would be like all within a given area. You wouldn't have like a little postage stamp that for some reason, through some intervention, it was better. That's just a question, comment.
Well, I think I can give you a little insight on that. So the way this is designed, the way they collect this data is from actual trips. So they take all these trips and then combine them. You take a look at that section, that's along the highway there.
That's 223rd.
Well, 223rd is north and south.
Maybe
of the
Marine
lawn. It's
Drive.
Marine Drive.
Marine Drive.
That's Marine Drive. And so Marine Drive has very little residential, commercial actually on it. So you can see it's slightly off. I mean, I don't know 100%, but I do know that is how like information's gathered. They do it by response time.
And it could certainly be faster just, driving straight down Marine Drive than versus residential communities. I think that's probably a good assumption.
But we can bring in the experts and dig into it a bit.
Okay.
Sorry, Steve, I didn't mean to.
The only thing I want to say about Marine Drive is they have a lot of, I don't want to call them ships, but houseboats, I guess, that are already in the water. If they was to turn around and catch on fire,
That's true.
there wouldn't be much to turn around and take care of except buckets and swabs,
At least they're in Gresham.
Yeah.
So again, sorry, Council President Steve, I didn't mean to step on your
Don't worry,
stuff.
don't worry.
But, yeah. But what I was going to say before I had the bite of pizza is, with this map and talking about the fire district, with this map that we had at Fairview on the Green and so forth, when I talk about the idea of a fire district, the fire district proposal ideas we've been talking about is having a fire station up here on the northwest side of this area, which would drop all that to yellow.
Yeah.
If there was a color below pink, the idea is that in addition, because, and that's, we've been talking about since we started talking about this. And when I tell residents here about that the idea of a fire district is the proposal is another fire station up over here, and people are like, that sounds great.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's going to be really core.
And like that sells people on the idea is, oh, there'll be another fire station on this side, so we're just better coverage, a better response right here. And people are like, oh, that sounds good. And
Yeah.
like, and I've told them already, it's gonna cost more. Because, you know, the property tax and, you know, the other, you know, items 1 and 2. I say, but we're gonna get this. And then the last one is, and if we do this, that means we're not going to have to raise other fees to pay for things, because this will be moved out of the general fund to this. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Yep.
If you do it in that order. I've had positive response from people who in general are fairly anti-tax people.
And I think it sounds like you know this, but there is a map from the same report that
Yeah.
has a hypothetical station
Right.
and shows that data. So I think that's great. And we will get into kind of more of the fire district details later on. So
Okay.
some of the stuff you touched on. Okay, so that next theme is the costs. The first part being the rising costs. So I think one of the pieces is, you know, this is happening across the state, if not the country, for sure. This is not unique to our area. These are expensive services. There are cost drivers. And then one of the things that we have some great data on is that call volumes have increased really significantly over the last 2 decades. And this data shows this. This is not just for your city. This is for Gresham Fire's whole service area. But I think, you know, the data is really strong, that since 1992, I mean, basically quadrupled. And I think that paints a really good picture for people, right? Of why some of these costs are going up. And then the next piece is the property tax limitations. I would, you know, express to everyone, you know, I know there's so much to talk about with property taxes and why it's a huge problem for cities. I would try not to go too far down the rabbit hole. I would try to focus on the core message of property taxes used to cover all of public safety and more, and today it doesn't. And there are limitations that cause that, but it makes it hard for us to cover the cost of these services as they're increasing. And another fun graphic. These numbers need to be slightly adjusted, but for the most part, this tells the story of the funding gap for public safety. You know, there are the public safety costs, and then there's the city revenue. And right now, the entirety of the city's general funds are being spent on public safety with no funds left over for other services. And I think this will be really core to your message. You know, when property taxes fail to keep up with increased costs, cities must cut services or find alternative revenue sources, which is exactly what you're doing.
Got a question. When it comes to ambulances, okay, I was over at Adventist Health today, because I saw a lot of ambulances back in their area, back in their emergency area. I also saw quite a number of ambulances over in the Winco parking lot off of Halsey, which is not too far away from there. And is there something that turns around and says where an ambulance has to be in order to answer a call and to be there on time, instead of, you know, I'll be there when I get there?
That's a BOAC question.
Oh, it is?
Yeah. So, I mean, in between meetings, I'll explain, because I was in the MTI, so I'll explain in between meetings. But-
Okay.
But fire service has no authority over that. It's a different question for us to have.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for taking that one.
Mr.
I did.
Remind me.
If I may, Megan, I wanted to let you know, I made a mistake on that number. 7.3 million is a little high. It's actually, it's about 6 million. So that, the good news is we just saved a lot of money. But anyway.
That's what we did.
We'll only customize your.
Just pay for what you need.
So anyway, but also if you take, I was having Ann actually crunch the numbers today, just pulling out the three areas of general fund that we spend also between recreation, which is our smallest one, and our parks and our community development, we're talking another,
7.3 million.
yeah, including those. So it really is about 7.3 million. So as you know, that piece, that funding gap right now is being met with cash balance, which is not sustainable. So anyway, thank you, Ann. Thank you, May.
Yeah, and we will get the graph updated and make sure you all have
Okay, that'll be good.
accurate data to use. So that is kind of the theme around the funding issue. Is there any questions or comments on that? So then there's a brief part here about your public safety fee. I feel like this is important to keep talking to people about too, that, you know, this is to bridge the gap between what the city currently collects and what you have to pay for public safety. And, you know, that it covers fire and emergency services, 911 communications, and law enforcement. And, you know, currently only accounts for about 15% of public safety costs.
And so are we talking about, assuming as we work through this, that the public safety fee, I mean, are we working towards the public safety fee going away and being replaced with the other funding source? I mean, what's the thought process?
Well, if you mind going back to the other, Megan, here's the situation. Of course, it'd be wonderful to have it go away. If you take that right now, that's what we're spending. And if you include in, actually, that number's pretty close, and forget this as just public safety costs, that's all of our general fund costs. You take that right there, as you can see, if you take away 2 million, which is fire, it is closer, but it may not be doable. I don't know, because the situation is that even with the 2 million, if we had a fire district tomorrow, that 2 million went away, we still have public safety for our police. And whether we have another police department or we have our sheriff's office, I assure you it's going to be a lot more expensive.
But it would just seem like as we're trying to work through and explain this to the public, that we know, and you've just mentioned all of these other costs that it takes to run the city, but we're not identifying any of that in here, at least up to this point. But I mean, I think a common question for most folks would be, like on a public safety fee, well, I did that to help fund public safety. Now you're coming up with an alternative to fund it, but yet you want to call it keep the public safety fee because, and valid, good reasons. But this is why we need to, so now we're not going to necessarily call it a public safety fee or whatever it is we're going to do. I mean, this just, to me, this provides just a very narrow, focused reason why we're doing what we're doing. The issue is way bigger than this. So I just think as we're trying to go out and convince people that this is the right thing to do, they've got to have a good understanding of what are you doing with all the rest of it. I mean, I understand what emergency services, 911, law enforcement is doing, but somehow I think you just got to be able to articulate the whole. And right now we're very focused on this one thing, which is maybe okay for this discussion, but I think if you're trying to get people to really buy into it, I mean, the average person would be going, well, listen, I just gave you $1.1 million. What's the problem? Oh, by the way, you know, you have these other sources of revenue, and so where are you spending those in the city? I just think we have to be able to articulate and explain what those other costs are. It's a suggestion. I just think it would potentially go over better.
No, I appreciate that comment. That's one of the things that we're actually, this is still draft. We're going to add in those three costs that the other parts of our general fund. So our general fund covers basically 6 things, at least.
Like maybe it's like this slide here with the corrected 7.3 million to whatever it is, but another slide that looks just like that. But in that, but in that line, it has the different aspects of the city government piece, you know, public works, whatever it is, administration.
That's exactly.
Where it just kind of stacks it.
If you see the email I sent today, I did actually a little line I drew and I put other at the top. But yes, we will have that in there, so you'll have that information.
The other thing, if the fire services never decrease the cost that they need to have to operate, we'll never be able to turn around and meet their demands when it comes to fire service.
Well, moving it over to the general fund, off the general fund, it'll come directly out of the property taxes. So that's another point of discussion as well, because it would, the fire service, fire district would come directly out of the property tax. So then you're looking at, instead of every single household paying for it, you have the people who own property who are paying for it, which you could make a lot of arguments.
Oh, so people that live in apartment buildings, they don't have to pay.
Well, the landlord may.
say that.
The landlord may raise the rent, I don't know, but the fact is that when you fund it, just like we have our general fund, when you're funding it from the fire district is coming directly out of property tax. So, for example, I own a home now here,
Yeah, I
my
know.
wife and I just closed.
You did.
Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations.
Welcome to Fairview.
Yeah, thank you.
When's the next one?
Yeah, housewarming, it's only 2 bedrooms, so. Yeah,
You got nothing leaking in it or anything like that? Everything good?
Yeah, we're getting things fixed on it.
Okay, good.
It's, a lot of things are fixed, but anyway, it's a nice home, we like it. It's a nice little, just a little row home, we like it, right here in Fairview. But, so I'm a property owner, right? So if we shift to a district, then it's gonna be coming out of my property taxes. So the city doesn't, we're not gonna take away our property, we'll still get the same amount of our property tax, but you'll additionally have a special district, which is the fire district. So property tax payers will pay more in their property taxes. But the opposite would be to simply raise, it's not simple, as Councilor would probably say, it's not simple, but to raise a public safety fee, and the public safety fee comes directly from our residents. So
Okay, and who's gonna make that decision?
we are,
We
We
are.
are?
This table.
That's why we're
all of
having.
you and Councilor Weber.
Okay.
Yep.
I do just want to add to your point, I think, in my experience, this is narrow and focused, as you say, for a reason, right? From a communications perspective, that's very purposeful. And I think the questions you're asking are good ones, but ones that very few, we should have them available, right? We should have it as a resource, but I think for the majority of people, it becomes too much information and then they lose the core point we're trying to express to them. So I just wanted to add that to this. I think it is kind of, that's kind of what I mentioned when I say hesitant to go too far down the rabbit hole of property taxes. Kind of similar in the budget, but I think a great resource for the people who think like you and want, to know all the information.
What's the drop dead date gonna be for this?
Well, that's what the fire committee is discussing, the task force.
We don't have an answer yet.
All right.
It's gonna be a while.
Save your shekels, people.
Okay, so then we go to what's next. Perfect segue. The city is working alongside the other cities to pursue a regional long-term option, ideally a fire district for fire and emergency services. This has some information, the task force has been created, the task force's shared commitment toward exploring a fire district. Fairview has representation on it and it's convening regularly. And then what a fire district would mean for Fairview. So fire district would mean moving these services outside the general fund to a new local government called a special district. Many cities across the region have already done this for fire and emergency services. It's a model that is working. And there are multiple potential benefits versus the dedicated funding for fire and emergency services. So it doesn't have to, fight other services for funding like it does now. Community members can seek election to the board to have a direct vote in the management of operations of the district. It's also pretty different from how it is now. One fire district can lead to cost savings by reducing administrative expenses, consolidating resources, and this one's important, touched on earlier, will allow the city, we use a word like may because it is in the future, right? We don't want to overpromise something we don't for sure know yet, but may allow the city to invest directly into fire protection infrastructure like fire trucks and centralized stations that will better serve community members for decades to come. I think this is a great place to talk about how that goal is of the additional station and the benefits that would bring if we had a fire district. So I know that was a lot of information. We packaged it up here. If you only have 30 seconds, this goes back to kind of those 4 main points at the beginning. The city is working on this and to improve this. We've seen that response times are slow and we need to fix that. We also need a more sustainable model for funding these services because costs are increasing and property taxes alone no longer cover them. And the city is working on a multi-year process to transition to a fire district to improve and sustain these critical services.
So if we had our own fire district, would we be the ones that's gonna hire our fire chief?
No, fire district works just like the city where they have their own fire board. So they would have their own fire board, just like the county has their own county commissioners, the city councilors. The fire board is just, it's another layer of government, just like you have state, you have county, you have city, you have a fire district,
So we really,
Like school board.
like a school board.
right, so we really wouldn't have any say.
We as a council, not so much. We as voters, heck yes.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
As voters.
You could run to be on the fire board, you could volunteer to be on a committee, all kinds of things. You could buy.
Oh, I think that would be a great idea if we had a city councilor on the fire board.
Can't do both.
Can't do both. I didn't mean at the same time.
Okay.
You could run if you were.
I was being facetious, I'm sorry.
2 quick questions before the 30-second. There we go. In this one, what would a fire district mean for Fairview? I'm not sure how to word it or anything. I know you're talking about merging into one fire district and lead to cost savings. One of the things that I'm seeing as a huge benefit to the 3 cities, not just Fairview, is in our current model right now, when Gresham went for their levy, we didn't get to vote on that. If we go to this, and the district wants to go to a levy, we get to vote.
Yeah.
So can we word that in to where we
Absolutely.
allow them, we tell the voters they will have more say in what happens in their, because by that one item alone, they automatically have 100% more say than they do now.
Yeah.
I'd like to see if we can word that in to remind them that this gives them more of a voice.
Yeah, I think it would fit well right under the one about seeking election to the board.
Exactly.
Just like voting for the community college
Yeah.
infrastructure.
I think it's been one of my biggest frustrations when I talk to people is, okay, we're being asked to pay for the service, but we don't get the service. And that's one of the ones I bring up is, we didn't get to vote for the levy. We didn't get to have a say in what happened. We were end users that were told what was gonna happen. Whereas this gives us at least some flexibility of having a voice. And I say us as in the 11,000 people. Not the 7 goofballs. Other question, if we go to the it's one of the first screens, in improvements, and I need to remember how it's, I wanted to save it, and I probably should have written it down, so, go up, keep going up. One of the very first ones. Okay, next one down, I think it is. It was talking something about the challenges and how could we make it better? Have you, in your experience in shifting from a model where it's coming out of the general fund to a specific one that's added on your taxes, how do you sell that adding a new tax makes things cheaper or better? Have you seen pushback? I can think of a couple of responses, but I don't know if they're going to be effective.
Yeah. Well, I hope I'm understanding the question. I will say the goal ultimately, right, is when the task force concludes and you get to what you're doing, you will have really concrete items and numbers to offer people with a fire district. You know, we will be able to say, by passing this fire district, and you know, language on the ballot is legally binding. Ideally, we're putting into that ballot language, by creating this fire district, we will be able to add at least 1 new station in this area. Or, you know, at least 3 new stations, or we will be able to add 10 new firefighters to service this area. You know, so I would say, put it back on you that's really important in the work of the task force to ultimately have those really concrete objectives. Because yes, in McMinnville, we were able to do that really clearly. They, for example, part of their creation of a fire district was adding multiple rural substations, and they had hard data on this will reduce response times by X amount.
Okay.
And being able to say that in all the communication materials does make the difference.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
And that, I will tell you, that's part of the challenge now, is everything's such in flux, right? So you see a lot of may do this, we are working to do this language that ideally, when we get to that point, is really,
Will.
hard. This will happen if you vote for
The
this.
will, it's replaces the may.
Yeah.
Got it.
The very last piece at the end was just letting people know we're going to be engaging the community about this. This is a long time process, and this is just the beginning of engaging community members and stakeholders, and to, keep up the lookout for more information. And, I think soon we'll have this presentation updated, so any of you could go out in the community and talk to people about it. That's something you could offer. And the website page will be up soon for directing people to as well.
That is great.
I do plan to more formally organize where we can have counselor or counselor on the community, just we're not there yet.
Yeah. We want to show people the trifold.
Yes.
Ooh, handouts.
Handouts,
Handouts.
only so you can have it.
And this is, a working document. You'll see it still has a placeholder for the website. But other than that, I think
Thank you,
it's
Sharon.
pretty close, pending additional thoughts from you all.
Thank you.
One thing that I did notice is that there was some comments made earlier in the week about fire trucks being a certain part of the city and stuff like that. Well, during my visit today to Winco over on Halsey and also to Adventist, I noticed that there were Portland fire trucks out there, and there were also some Portland fire trucks on Halsey. They were not at their station, but there was also fire trucks at their station that were outside, and it looked like they were doing PMS on the vehicles. That's what I think that they were doing. But it seemed like there was a lot of movement, okay, where it looked like that they were.
Hard to miss a fire truck.
No, yeah, it sure is.
Special looking ladders, huh?
Aerial assault vehicles. Let's get it right.
And one of those was a hook and ladder truck, so.
Megan,
Yes.
anybody have, if I may, does anybody have any feedback?
Thank you for this.
Thank you, good presentation.
Real quick, it looks like we might have a question from the audience. Okay. If that's okay, please come up. If you could, that way the microphones can pick you up.
Just was curious, in your experience, have you ever had a ballot measure pass in relation to this where the fire union was opposed to it?
Oh, good God.
I've heard previous presentations about how
Sure.
they're a key constituency to be in favor of things, even unrelated to fire, just, if they're in favor of high school bond measure, they're a positive force.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, given some of the permutations that may occur, there could be a circumstance where they might not be favorable in the direction that.
Yeah, I certainly have had unrelated things pass without support from the fire union, but I think when it comes to something like, it's the same, right, as what if the teachers were opposing the school bond, you would have some questions about that, right? That would make you wonder a bit, what's up here. So I would say that would definitely be a concern, certainly if they were against any potential measure. I do think a lot of work is being done to, collaborate on that topic and get to a place where that is not the subject. But yeah, I think it would be a bit of a concern because they're, a trusted constituency, and this is obviously very relevant to them.
If I may say something too, I want you to know that I'm on the task force, and we have two of our members here, and others, but I can tell you in that room, we are working really hard to try to collaborate. And I've been personally, I worked a lot with the union, I shouldn't say a lot, but several times, and they've been very respectful. And my whole goal is that we are able to work together, and as we pull up the information, see the data, I think whatever the decision is, I think that everyone will be able to see that, and I hope that they can support that. But so far, it's been much, much better. I want to actually publicly thank the union for aggression firefighters. They've been working really hard on trying to focus on the working as a group, so that's been really good. And I will tell you, even in the dynamics of that, like the last meeting we had, there were some comments, and it circled back to where we need to be working together, so that's really good, without going into too much detail.
Yeah.
You guys have some hard questions. We got there.
No, that's a good one.
Yeah, it's good.
That's all we have, Mayor.
All right, I think unless there's another question, I think we're good.
Excellent. Well, it's good to see you all.
Thanks again for coming.
Thank you, Mayor.
Appreciate it.
This is great, and I cannot wait to see the website up and running.
Awesome.
It's gonna be a really fantastic arrow.
Good. Okay. Thank you.
And on that, we'll call the closed work session. We will reconvene in 7 minutes for the regular work session,
Council. This was.
or for the regular session.
Sessions, work session, executive session, regular session.
Gosh, so many things.
What is the next? So
I know what these
Essentially,
assessments.
Dan and AMR work together and have a map of where should ambulances be if they aren't on a call.
Take all these
They're moving,
out.
so if someone goes on a call,
Okay.
move an ambulance to a place to have the best possible response.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not, it doesn't like. It is opportunities, yeah.
When is the wife expected to come back? When is she expected to come home?
She's not gonna be going back to stay there for quite some time. I was trying to give her some time for this.
Oh. Oh,
Doing a great job, Dave.
I asked if they had any audio or, pre-recorded, and they don't, but I sent you a lot of the links of what they provided. And I can also send you what we recorded, if you're interested. But
Not open to things, trust your judgment.
The fact that they actually got done.
okay.
Yeah, I actually had a conversation with somebody going, wait, why are we even?
And if you're gonna use, what was it, if you're gonna use your grandparents, use them before the end of the year
It's specific.
to violate ethics.
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
We're not.
Is it uncles and aunts?
Also, my, well, then we could.
There's something that changes at the
And nothing.
beginning of next year that was like, you would have thought that it was already covered, but it's not, so.
Oh, okay.
Oh, is that where they were defining some of the terms of what family is?
Yeah,
Shouldn't we?
so I gotta make sure to get my dead grandparents to.
There's a lot going on. I'm gonna have to go back and review that.
Yeah.
Hit the nail on the head right there.
Just saying.
Yep.
So we're gonna skip B and C, is that right?
What is it? Yeah, we're just gonna
Or,
Yeah, skip B and
the next meeting. Yeah, B and C.
What do we need, Michael? Who's talking?
Dozens and dozens of people that are coming tonight.
Expecting Eric to speak more? We should just give him a wireless microphone. He can take and sit down.
Okay, I'll give her a moment to get around to her seat.
Are we allowed to ask questions about this resolution?
Yes. Yes,
Okay,
that'll be a topic of discussion, yes.
okay, thank you.
Are we ready?
Yes, we are.
Okay. We will call to order the regular council session for Wednesday, December 3rd, 2025. If we could please have a roll call.
Counselor Copeland,
here,
Counselor Owen,
Here.
Counselor Dennerlein,
Present?
Counselor Marker,
Here,
and I know that Counselor Todd is here. He must have stepped away.
You did.
Okay. And Mayor Kudernat?
Here, and for the record, Counselor Weber is excused due to illness. If I could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have any citizens wishing to comment on agenda items?
No request for receipt.
Okay. And in that, the next few items on our council business are, we do have some, we are going to postpone the appointments to Park and Recreation Committee, as well as the Public Safety Committee until the second meeting within December, to when we have a full council to deliberate and get all the available information. I know that we have a number of candidates who are looking forward to getting that information tonight. I apologize for the delay, but we do feel as council that it is important that all of us have a say in that. So with that said, we're going to loop back up to council business A, authorized transfer of funds for equipment replacement fund. That would be Ann Baker.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. So tonight before you have a resolution that will authorize the transfer of funds from the replacement fund from contingency into capital outlay for the purchase or the replacement of the code enforcement officer's truck. When we did the budget this year, for this current fiscal year, it was not anticipated that that vehicle would need to be replaced. And it has been decided that it needed to be replaced, and the city manager has authorized that purchase. So now we need to transfer those funds to cover that expense. Oregon budget law does allow resolution transfers from contingency up to 15%. This falls well underneath that 15% of the funds appropriations, which would be $75,200. So it's well below that limit. We can transfer that by resolution. Any questions?
Council have any questions? Yes, Councilor Demmerling.
We're truly buying a truck in 2025 for $33,560? Yes or no is fine, I'm just, that seems dirt cheap in today's prices.
Yes, we're utilizing cooperative purchasing.
Awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, I saw that and I'm like, okay.
Combination of severely stripped down along with cooperative
Yeah,
purchasing.
that's fine, but it's like I was thinking, oh, $75,000 truck.
Yeah, but it doesn't have all the bells and whistles that a lot of.
Oh, no, it's not a super ranch deluxe.
Yeah, exactly. That's
Just so
where
John
I
can
was
drive
getting,
around.
that's where I was getting to. No, it has windows, yes.
And an 8-track. Okay, that's all, I just saw that price, was like, really, in 2025? That seems really, really, like a great.
Honestly, we needed that good news, so
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah,
Appreciate it. Any other questions? All right, if there's no other questions, we have a resolution, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve resolution 33-2025.
Second?
We have a motion and a second, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That's good. We will skip items B and C. We do have item D, which is appoint a member to the planning commission. City recorder?
I was like, what are you doing?
So this evening, council during work session had a chance to speak with Rob Pearson. He is a current member of the planning commission. His term is up as of December 31st, 2025. And he is seeking to be reappointed back to his existing position for another 4 years. He was the only applicant that was received for planning commission.
How fast can we do this?
Would this create a full planning commission?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Are there any questions?
No questions, just comments, as he was a pleasure to work with.
Like hearing that? Then I'll entertain a motion.
So motion to appoint Rod Pearson, to reappoint him to position 5. So it's approving resolution 34-2025.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passes. Next, Nathan George, Mount Hood Capable Regulatory Commission resolution.
Thank you, Mayor.
That is hard to say.
It is. But I've been on it for 7 years.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you very much. So recently, the Mount Hood Cable Regulatory Commission voted to dissolve their commission effective June 30th, 2026. So just a quick background, the Mount Hood Cable Regulatory Commission was created in 1992 to carry out regular cable television regulation administration of Multnomah County and the cities of Fairview, Gresham, Portland, Trout Hills, and Wood Village. And over the last 18 months, the commission has been engaged in a strategic planning process to assess its long-term sustainability as the cable industry has been declining. So I believe it was on June, I don't actually date that they adopted this, but it was fairly recently. In fact, it's by the resolution, the first resolution they adopted this year is to actually dissolve that. And then the resolution that I've included, if you to join, is that it would actually includes dissolving and the continuation of managing the PEG, which is the public education and government compliance, funding and engagement with community media centers, management of existing community technology grants, cable-related complaints, and future cable negotiations with providers. So this does not substantially affect the budget. It will increase revenues only slightly, depending on the final outcome and how the existing revenues are divided. However, the potential increase in revenues is only the city receives from franchise fees in the short term. In the long term, cable franchise fees are declining overall, regardless of what happens. So this is simply the commission asked for a formalization from the cities to whether they do or don't conclude, or excuse me, they do or do not confirm or agree with the resolution that was adopted. So we've had a lot of discussion with the council, and so I'm bringing a proposal before you to actually agree with the resolution. And this is a formal proposal to say that I would send back to them and say, hey, our city council agrees, if you so choose to vote on it and agree to it.
Okay. He's got his finger on the button. I knew you were going. I should have just called your name. Councilor?
How does our resolution compare to the one that the city of Portland sent out this morning, their recommended resolution? I didn't get a chance to do a side-by-side comparison.
I didn't see one that came out this morning.
You didn't?
I was on there, I didn't see it, I've just been.
You were on it.
Oh, I know I was. Yeah,
He
you're
screwed up in that he said that Dirks was the city manager in Fairview and Wood Village, but,
Lucky guy.
so,
from Michael Jordan. Yeah,
yeah.
it's right here.
In Portland. So a few things. I am part of HCRC, and yes, we sat down a couple of years ago, or 18 months ago, and started to look at the fact that our revenues were declining. What do we want to do? And what I wanted to do, I believe that Wood Village was on board, I believe Troutdale was on board, maybe Gresham, was to surgically remove Portland from the IGA and take our money and not let Portland have more money. And it has devolved, and we knew that we were going to dissolve the commission at some point, but now all of a sudden Portland's stepping back in and saying, oh, by the way, we should have a new IGA that's just like the old IGA, except we'll take the money and I'm just scratching my head going, what the hell is going on? I want our money to fund Metro East and have some PEG dollars left over. It's really, really simple. But what I'm starting to discover as I have my third year as an elected official is that, man, we can take the simplest things and make them so mind-numbingly complex. This is really simple. Couple of page IGA. If Gresham wants to have that halftime FTE to say this money goes here, this money goes here, this money goes here, and Metro East gets this, great. I think the problem is that Gresham basically wants deep sinks Metro East. They don't see value. They want that $400,000+ in their own pockets. And so now how do we protect Metro East? And I was hoping that there would be some discussion without Portland to see if we could figure that out. But it doesn't seem to be working that way. And I don't know if it's just inevitable that Metro East goes away. I think they provide a very valuable service. And now to see Portland stepping back in and going, oh, by the way, we can do all of this again, and the next agenda item is just as bad. What is it about cities feeling the need to take money from other cities to coffer their own budgets? And you've said before, cities can't make a profit, but it sure as hell seems like this is a city trying to grab our money to keep their people employed. And I don't care. I don't care if the city of Portland has the proper number of employees. I care about our taxpayers. I care about our budget. I care about our city. Anyway, that's my rant. I mean, yes, this is fine. Go ahead and approve it. I trust Nathan to do the right thing. But I want to make sure that if we're in agreement as a commission or as a council, that it is important that we protect Metro East, that it is important that we slice Portland out of this. The other thing that's going to come up is, and I saw Gresham's hinting at it, and I can tell you as an MHCRC commissioner, you all already approved the MHCRC budget, which includes that $1 million in grants. And it sure looks like Gresham's saying, we want the money. cancel the grants. And I'm not sure how to handle this, and it is probably gonna have to, if that is in fact Gresham's idea, and if we're in agreement with maybe we don't do the grants this year, we need to act real fast because that cycle's gonna start here at the beginning of the year. And then if you want the money back, you're gonna have to tell that 25 or 30 different organizations, oh, by the way, the contract we signed with you, who knows what kind of mess that would be. So if in fact that's what Gresham wants to do, they need to do it fast, or else it's gonna get messy. Or they're just gonna lose out on the money and we're gonna have basically grant compliance with the city of Portland until 2027. Anyway.
Well, if I may, I can add a little bit of information.
Sure, yes, please.
So first of all, on the situation with this resolution, I was asked by the commission simply to let them know if the city of Fairview agrees with this. So this resolution is strictly one thing, that's to say, hey, we agree. It doesn't divide up the money, it doesn't have anything to do with that in that sense. The other situations, the city managers have been meeting, and we've been talking about this, and one of this, and I honestly don't remember, it probably was Gresham brought up, but there's been a lot of discussion, hey, we have all, the board committed a lot of money. And they said, wait a minute, wouldn't it be better for that money to possibly come back to cities or come back to organizations within our city? And so looking at the past, many of those grant fundings went to organizations that don't really have anything to do with Fairview. At least they're not in Fairview. And I'm talking about
Yeah, historically, there's been some, the monitors are all around us are actually part of a grant, but yeah.
Right, so I did sign a letter, those city managers asked, and I signed a letter saying, and I think I sent out to the council, just simply said, hey, we would ask the commission to maybe hold off on approving those, because from my understanding, unless I'm incorrect, they hadn't identified anybody actually received those grants yet. It was just like they authorized it to spend the money. And so the thought was, well, maybe we can help discuss that and divide it in a sense that makes more sense for the city. So that's all that was. There was no discussion on where the money goes. And
well, but that's what I'm saying is that my understanding is our first, we'll start issuing those grants in January. And knowing how cities work now, can the four cities get together and actually figure out a way to say to the MHCRC timeout? Otherwise, they're going to keep plowing ahead. They have the budget approved by all the jurisdictions, and so they're just going forward.
More than happy to work on that. I mean, more than happy to do that.
And I don't disagree with not having grants this year. I think that we've done great work for the last 20 years, but I happen to agree that I think at this point that money is better served keeping Metro East afloat as opposed to handing it out to, as you point out, a lot of places that don't have anything to do with East County.
I went through and looked at the list for the last several years, and I honestly didn't see anything that was even in Fairview, much less this side of the county. So, but this is a situation where I'll take direction from council, how you'd like me to respond. I mean, if the council says, Nathan, really focus on doing what you can for Metro East, doing what you can for the city, I will do that. I have no problem with that. That's kind of the takeaway I've actually had from the council. It's never been an official vote, but I've had a takeaway. My understanding was, focus on Metro East, move forward in that direction. That's what I'm doing. I know Wood Village feels the same. Troutdale, I think
so. Gresham, Beaverton, my goodness, I'm sorry. Beaverton's not involved. Gresham's been a little different, but they haven't been like just furious. They've just been different on that. So.
I mean, I would agree that that's the direction we should be focusing on is primarily East County, trying to keep the dollars out of here. Councilor Todd?
To be clear, Commissioner Dillon, so us passing this doesn't affect what you just talked about.
No.
This is fine, is the thing, the unwinding needs to happen, this is what this is.
Correct. Yes.
But we're talking about the after this is, and so I just want to let you know.
Yeah, this resolution here, I have no problem with this resolution. I trust Nathan to go forth and.
I will sign on whatever involves Metro East to get on the agenda when you find out about it, because you're the one who will know about it. And I will, co-sign the email to the mayor to get it on.
I'm not getting Christmas cards from the rest of the MHCRC.
But that's fine. I just want to make sure that, I'm not getting Christmas cards from Gresham in general. That's a whole other thing. but I want to make sure. Yeah, okay, thank you.
This resolution, I have no problem with it. You know, it's going to dissolve. It's a matter of how we do it.
But you are raising issues that we should not lose sight of.
Yes,
Agreed.
exactly. Thank you.
It's an also yes.
So in regards to the motion in front of us, are there any other questions? Then we'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion, we approve resolution 35-2025.
Second. All right. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That passes. Next would be fire and emergency services contract extension. City Manager George.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So where to begin with this? There has been a lot of discussion on the contract extension, so I don't have a full list because I wasn't able to get it, but Eric Smith, the city manager, did sit down with us and went through every single thing that they had reduced from what they originally proposed on the contract extension. So they went through and then they cut out everything they felt was appropriate. They brought it before the city managers. We looked at it again. And the ultimate thing was there, Wood Village said, hey, we want to make sure that each year doesn't exceed 3%. It's the
7.3.
Yeah, 7.3. And what that is, that's the annual increase that the fire department costs to increase their actual budget. So he said, hey, we don't want to. I'm saying him because Mr. Dirks led the kind of charge on this part, which was, hey, we want to make sure that we're not increasing, because the original proposal we got, city manager, was like 10.3 the first year and then 7.3. So I want to say that Gresham did back it down to 7.3 for each year as an increase. And then my biggest thing that I was really, although we all agreed on it, but was I asked Eric was, hey, we want to make sure that we have an out, because the original contract didn't really have much of an out. So he did agree to that, and it's in the language here allows any one of us to leave with a year's notice in advance. And so that was something else I thought was really important, and everyone thought it was important. I was just kind of breaking down a little bit how we approached it. But nevertheless, Gresham came back and was agreeable to everything. All the other cities have adopted this resolution, well, have adopted this agreement. So now I bring it before you to ask you to adopt it. There is an increase each year. And, our hopes are that before 5 years are up, that we have a fire district is my hopes, and something I'll be working on.
Yes.
Overall, I do believe that these increases are they're reasonable. I should say that.
Councilor Todd?
So that makes me feel better, we just said, with the, 1 year out and the 7.3. I guess my one question is, do they have an out where they can say year two, like, you know what, we actually don't like this and we're going to tear it up from our end? Do they have an out?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay, that's the most important thing to me. I feel way better about this with that answer.
With those two things.
And I appreciate it, if I may respond. So if you remember, we still have the agreement, the full agreement's in place. And then council approved a few changes, an extension, and then you're approving a few more. And the only thing that's really changing is just those little pieces I included in here, so. But the entire contract as a whole has been still extended.
Okay. Councilor Marker?
Well, I don't know why we'd ever even enter into a contract with the city of Gresham, as much as they've treated us badly, in my view. Okay, why we would ever do this. My second comment is, do we expect this contract to drag on to where we will have to have more than one of these resolutions? In other words, how long do we expect this to drag on before we move in a different direction?
That's a good question. I really don't anticipate another contract extension. The reason being, this is for 5 years. We have not discussed, we've only begun to have discussions with the task force. We had our first meeting, last month? And so, one of the things I will be pushing is that we take a look, we always, just like Franklin Covey, we start with
the end in mind. So we need to really take a look at when we think this is feasible and then back it down and put every step in place. So if we look as a committee and say, hey, we believe that it should go before the voters and say 2027, then we need to put all those steps in place to do that. I couldn't imagine it would take us 5 years to do that. I mean, it's really a matter of gathering data and then explaining the data to the public and going out and, in a sense, campaigning or educating the public and putting it on the ballot.
Do we have a specific timeline where we believe that all this is going to be done and we can move forward?
Well, that's where we're not at a timeline yet. But we, like I said, we just met last month. We had the very first meeting. We are in the place where we started discussing the steps of the meeting, how the meeting's gonna work. We've already got our next meeting's next Wednesday. We're meeting, I believe it's 5 or 5:30. We will be discussing very shortly our timeline. Because I can tell you, for me personally, as your city manager, I will be really focused on getting a timeline that we can, even if it's a few years out, at least we take that back date and we back it through, because then we know we have to start with the end in mind to build those steps.
Okay, I got one last question. I want to know, Mr. Mayor and Mr. City Manager, are we basically pushing the envelope a little bit by turning around and doing this? In other words, do we think that we would have been much further ahead than we are now in having to do this resolution?
I'm sorry, I got a little distracted. I need to make a clarification on something, but, so you're asking if we had done this sooner?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
Well, that's a good question, and I was.
I'm sorry.
So.
They're just coming everywhere.
No, it's fine.
I think I have a response to this. Do I think I don't believe it would have been beneficial to do this sooner, because we needed to take the steps that we got to get here. And it took Gresham a little bit longer to get here than it did the rest of the 3 cities. So yes, this is the proper timeline, in my opinion. And from my opinion, and I'm only going to speak for myself, regarding why are we doing another contract with Gresham? They are our current service provider. It actually makes sense to continue that as we explore other possibilities, rather than jump here, jump there, jump here, jump there. It is prudent. It is actually more economical in scale if we just continue on with Gresham while we were still looking at other negotiations.
So even though we really don't like it, we're still kind of over a barrel, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. That's all I wanted to know. Thank you.
I appreciate that, Mayor.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's perfect. But I will say, there's been a lot of work behind the scenes, and things are going much smoother. I mean, our response from our union leader, the leader, has been very good. It's been very good. We've been working very well together, and he's been very focused on trying to work as a team. So I really appreciate that. I've talked to him personally, and so I did want to make one clarification made, and I want to thank Deborah for pointing it out. This contract says that any party can leave, so that would include Gresham. However, I mean, I can certainly, if council wanted to defer this, I can take it back, although this is, but have approved it. But I want you to know that I can't imagine that would ever happen, because Gresham doesn't want to lose us. You know, they're gonna need that $2 million. So I can't anticipate ever a time when Gresham would say, you know what, we're just gonna remove Fairview and continue our services without working as a team. So I do apologize, I was in error, and I appreciate Debbie for pointing it out to me.
Council President Arnold?
Yeah, maybe this is Ann or you, Nathan, I'm not sure. So, I mean, no doubt that we need to do this. We implemented the $20 fee, generated $1.1 million or so. As we look at the next budget cycle, and then maybe the next budget cycle out of that, because let's face it, we're not gonna do a fire district scenario for a while. It's going to be a while. So we did the $20 is what we currently have in play. As you've looked at the next budget cycle and even thought about possibly the next budget cycle, and seeing that these costs are increasing more than what we're paying today, what are your thoughts on, I guess, the public safety fee? Do you see that staying when we did the 20, did we think that this was going to, at least from a budget perspective, run us out for a year or two? Or, you know, what are your thoughts?
Well, maybe I can talk a little bit and can provide more detail on. So as I recall, I said from the beginning, the $20 is only a help. It's not a solution. It's a help to the symptom. Unfortunately, and I know I've said this many times, so I'm sorry. Unfortunately, the city has been in a very bad position for many years. And if it had been a public safety fee implemented, say, 5 years ago for a couple bucks, you probably could have raised it up. It's a little bit every year. It wouldn't have been a problem. But unfortunately, the way it was handled in the past, things were just run. The general fund was sinking. In other words, it was not covered everything. And so things were being paid contrary to Oregon budget law. The expenses were being paid out of things that shouldn't have been paid out, like water and sewer, in some cases even fuel tax, which is really crazy. But so when we sat down in budget time, we looked and said, this is our expenditures. You know, we've added a few people and we've reorganized the departments, which really didn't really affect the number of people, but we are, how do I say this, but we are really lean. That's a good way of saying it. We are really lean. And I mean, I can tell you right now, we're dealing with a lot of issues with employees, dealing with the fact that they are really busy. I mean, we are overfilled with work, and I'm trying everything I can as we're working on processing. But our employees they're strapped. I mean, they really are. I can't think of one employee who isn't just super busy every single day. So my point is they are working hard and we're trying to do all we can, but we really don't have all the resources we even need. So I've been trying to figure out a way to create structures, like, for example, dividing departments up was helpful to have people be able to focus in on certain things, not just like having John focused on what would be like 3 different departments. So he's been able to focus on public works. But the long-term solution is going to be either we raise revenues, council raises revenues. One of those big pieces is taking the fire, if we can get a fire district, that's going to remove, at this point, it'll be $2.1 million from our general fund, which will be very, very helpful. We'll take a look at the projections as we dig into the budget. The other one is a public safety fee or any other kind of fee. That could be a parks fee or something else. The other one is to cut expenditures. But I will tell you right now, if we do cut expenditures, we're going to lose services. We're so lean. It's not like I have 3 people doing 2 people's jobs. I'm just trying to be really honest and transparent.
I appreciate the explanation, but, you know, maybe, or not maybe, but where I think we need to get is just to kind of come clean and come up with kind of our projected path as to what that looks like, knowing what we know. I think we all agree that people are working hard. We're behind from a city perspective on revenues to our expenses. It's been a bit now that we've had the $20 fee. So, you know, $240 a year more than what, say, a household was paying before we implemented that. What I'm trying to understand is, just as we look at this next budget cycle and maybe out the ways, I mean, my background is more looking out further than tomorrow. What do we anticipate that looking like, knowing that the fire district that we're talking about, that's still a ways off? I mean, we started having meetings and fire stations, fire trucks and all that. That's very complicated, but I would like it sooner than, at some point here soon, that we kind of have maybe a work session or something that really provides some color as to maybe what this fee needs to look like over the next few years, as opposed to it's $20 today. Well, I think what I just heard is it's probably not going to be $20 this next budget cycle. Probably not going to be that the next. So why don't we just, as we're ripping these Band-Aids off, let's just become realistic as to what we think it's going to be. Because like right now, we're going to pass this, and I totally support this, by the way. But I just have this sense of that we're not really addressing, or we're not talking about the future and what that means. So I would just appreciate the fact that sometime soon, maybe a work session, that we just kind of really come to some terms as to what this $20 turns into for the next few years, until we get this bridge built for the fire district. That's my request.
I absolutely agree. And if you wouldn't mind,
First, I'd like to say we are planning on having a work session in January, just on the general fund, to go over those concerns that you raised tonight. So we'll be looking at what it looks like currently and what it can look like in the future if the appropriate steps aren't taken to alleviate some of the revenue issues.
Okay.
You're right, the fee is not going to be $20. Property taxes, I estimated a 2.9% increase for this year. We were like 0.1% short of that in the actual property tax revenues. So property taxes aren't growing. I mean, they're basically flat. And we're going to need to come up with a solution in the interim between now and whatever the solution for the fire services are going to be, whether it's a district or a different contract or whatever. And then in another 18 months, we've got another contract coming up with Multnomah County, which we know is going to be a big hit. So yeah, we need to figure out what additional revenues we're going to need to pull in. Franchise fees are not increasing the way they did in the past. You heard tonight, the cable franchise fees, people are doing alternative viewing methods to get their TV shows. And the rest of the franchises are going the same way, although not as quickly. Looking at the state shared revenues, cigarette tax used to be big. People don't smoke anymore, so cigarette taxes are declining. The rest of the state shared revenues are as well, because the state is clawing back a little bit of whatever they can get, because the state is in the same position we are with trying to come up with more revenues. So it's basically a no-win situation, really.
Yeah, and you're not, I'm convinced
Yeah, so I mean,
of the issues. I am 100% convinced, and I think everyone up here is. All I'm saying is it's good to hear that we're going to have a meeting in January. I would just request that when we have the meeting in January, that you have given some thought to maybe how you're going to bridge that gap.
right, yeah, and that's the whole.
And we maybe can increase some fees here and there, but the reality is that's going to produce.
There's going to be some hard decisions in the next budget cycle for council.
It'll be insignificant. What we really need are some pops. And so the question, what does that 20 turn into for the next budget cycle? That would be good to know. I mean, realistic, and you can be plus or minus, it doesn't have to be exact, but and that it's going to be significant. I mean, it's going to be something on a percentage basis much greater than $20.
And she mentioned that is the intent. So sounds like we're definitely going down that. We should have that at the beginning of the year.
we will. And I appreciate what you're saying. And I know you know the history, but, we got here, Ann and I got here, and we didn't have anything as far as numbers, and we're still trying to find numbers. We're only into our third, believe it or not, our third audit since I've been here, and I've only been here 11 months, and Ann's only been here 10 months, if even 10 months. So we're moving light speed, but I absolutely understand their concern. We understand their concern, and we'll be putting together some projections. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I have a quick question. The 7.3% annual growth, how does that compare to the annual growth on the previous fire contract? Do we have an idea of what that grew every year?
I really don't know. That's what I understand, that the city of Gresham's fire department is at this point. I don't know what it was in the past.
Okay.
I mean, I can certainly, if you want me to, I can try to find out. I don't.
It's not gonna fix it.
It was less. I suspect as the years have come, it's got more special.
We might have an answer if that individual would like to come up to closer to a microphone.
It's true.
I'm happy to, I'm happy to throw somebody under the bus who can give us some insight on that.
Draft kind of bill at us for.
Don't have a copy of it with me, but my understanding of the 7.3 is that they were looking at a long-term, the long-term cost increases, and that's how they calculated that. The IGA that has been amended once with the 1-year extension, and presumably we'll have a 5-year extension tonight. The previous formula for the other cities was based on a somewhat complicated
It wasn't per
calculation
capita.
on their part, that it wasn't anything that any of the cities could really predict, but it did have guardrails in it, and that's part of why they felt as though they needed such a big step up now, is because during the course of the last 10-year IGA, their costs were going up more than what the top of the guardrails of the costs that the 3 cities were paying. I believe there was a 4.5% cap. And there was, based on this complicated formula they actually had a year where it didn't hit that. And so.
4.5 to 7.
But my understanding is the 7 was that they were looking at a longer time frame of, I don't know, whether it's 20 years or 30 years, their overall cost history. And that's how they kind of backed into that, saying, well, okay, we'll back it down to what it's historically, quote, cost us, as it were. But I'm a step or two removed from that.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Gives us an idea. Councilor Daniel.
There's a part of me that just wants to vote on the resolution, get it out of the way, and have a broader discussion.
Yeah.
Because I got a lot of things that I'd like to bring up over the last 3 or 4 weeks that I've seen. And I think we're all in agreement that we have to approve this resolution. I'm not happy with it. I'd rather see a cost of living increase as opposed to a 30% increase over 5 years. They're not going to renegotiate to that. They've got us over a barrel. I do like the fact that we can give them 1-year notice and go off on our own. And so with that, I have nothing to say about the resolution, but I have a lot to say about fire. And I kind of want to get the resolution. I would think get the resolution out of the way and then we can discuss fire, or I can discuss fire now.
That's a good question. Can you keep it short?
The discussion on the fire, I will keep it as short as I possibly can, but it isn't going to be as short as you want it to be, because it's been bubbling for about 3 weeks now of just noticing things.
Well,
So
let's bring it up.
Well, so as people have heard previously here, and I've talked to Nathan about, one of the things that I had proposed so that we can maybe get some money in that's not ours was the FAA. We have an airport, or Troutdale has an airport, the 3 cities, and I'm going to refer to us as the 3 cities, leaving Gresham out of it. I don't think that doing anything with Gresham long-term is in our best interest. They are interested in taking our money and giving us as little as possible. So I don't think that we should be involved with Gresham at all. I also dismiss the concept that we can't figure out a better way to do this and actually do it less expensively. We keep talking about fire. We don't need a fire department. Even Gresham's own page says 65% of their calls are emergency services, not fire, but we keep talking about fire. Fire. So I made mention of airports, and the week before Thanksgiving, I drove into the hangar on Monday and there were 3 Gresham fire engines sitting by the tower. The next day, there were 4 Gresham fire engines sitting by the tower. The next day, there were 3 again. And at one point, they did have the $6 million hook and ladder truck out there. Now, I thought, I'm not a huge believer in coincidence, but that was interesting that I mentioned it to you. You've mentioned it to the port as well as to the other city managers. Did this trigger something, or is this something that Gresham typically does once a year, once every couple of years in order to have training with the airport? I talked to 3 different people who have histories at the airport ranging from 8 years to 30. None of them can ever remember Gresham coming out and doing any training at the airport, ever. So I found that interesting. I find it interesting that people who live in the village have had the $6 million hook and ladder truck drive through the village on 3 separate days. Why? Is it because we said something in public about their $6 million hook and ladder truck and they want to show it off to us? Or I don't know. But I'm not a huge believer in coincidence. So what is it that we're triggering? What's Gresham afraid of? And can we do this? The other thing is as you all know, I had jury duty this morning and I got onto a weird tangent of what happens if you take the 3 cities and turn them into a city? Where do we sit population-wise? Interestingly, we sit just above McMinnville, a little bit below Kaiser. Kaiser's fire district is brilliant. They actually lowered their cost over this last year. A quarter of their income comes from their ambulance service. They run their own ambulance service. And it's this wonderful thing, and you go, well, why can't we have that? And everybody says it's going to take years to do a fire district. According to who, except the people who don't want a fire district? There is no revised statutes that covers urban fire districts. There is something that covers rural fire districts. We're not a rural fire district. And so why is it that we keep falling for this? Well, it's going to take forever and it's going to be this and it's going to be this. Because the people that keep trying to overcharge us tell us that? Because the people who want to take our money from the people who are overcharging us keep telling us that? Where's our consultant that says, oh, we've done fire districts before. This is what you need to do. And we're not talking to those people. We're talking to the people who want to keep taking more and more and more of our money. The third part of this was I was at a local establishment earlier this week, late last week, and a patron passed out, stood up, kind of acted funny. They thought that person was pretending. They weren't. 911 was called. And sure enough, they actually did it in 6 minutes. I was impressed. AMR and Engine 74. Engine 74 shows up, and those 3 guys stood around. Didn't do anything, didn't help, didn't do the gurney, didn't hold the door open. They just stood there. But we're paying for it. Why are we paying for it when even Gresham says 65% of their calls are emergency services, ambulances? But we keep rolling the $6 million truck and we got to pay for it. So why can't we think outside the box? I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I feel like I'm screaming at the clouds. I'm the old guy, get off my lawn, and I'm screaming at the clouds. But we're having a task force with the very people that I don't think we should be having a task force with. They're trying to take money away from us that I think could be better utilized with us, that we're smarter than them. We don't need the $6 million aerial assault truck. I don't want to say hook and ladder, they get offended by that. I don't know what else to say. Yes, we have to approve the resolution, but I'm having a hard time going out and selling our constituents with this hot concept that, well, we're just going to have to suck it up and pay more money. Have we looked at Kaiser? Have we talked to a consultant to say, besides Praxis, to say, what does it take to do this? Have we called the state fire marshal to ask? I mean, we pay our taxes to pay them. Has anybody talked to the fire marshal, the state fire marshal, to say, hey, we're curious, the 3 cities up here want to do our own fire district. What do we have to do? I don't know. Okay, I think I kept it short. I find it interesting, though, that Gresham is now all of a sudden in our face at the airport, driving the hook and ladder truck through the village was just, that was comical.
Well,
for the first day, I thought, okay, they're just checking out to make sure that they've got clearances. On the third day, I can't repeat what was going through my head. So.
yeah, I can't disagree with you there. We were told by the Gresham Fire Chief that they only bring that out when they need to.
Yes.
It doesn't seem like that practice is following.
But Commissioner Weber's told, required the hook and ladder truck to check on her.
Yeah, there it is. You had a,
Okay, this is back to earlier, so going back, forking back, conversations fork, that's what we do. We are over a smaller barrel with this resolution than we were with their original deal, which triggered this whole discussion. It's a smaller barrel.
Still barrel.
Yes, it is, but it is more manageable than the bigger barrel. And so, it's one of those, I will swallow this barrel while we have this discussion that Commissioner Dennerlein brought up, because it's serious and important.
I think Councilor Dennerlein's right, because even if they use their fire engine, we're paying for it.
That was the thing that got me, was it wasn't even like they made an effort to go help with the, open the ambulance door or help with the stretcher. They just stood there. They looked at a couple of the games that were there and said, and it was infuriating to think that we're paying for that when the paramedic and the EMT were doing just fine. And part of what caught me with Kaiser was I have some very dear friends that I absolutely love in Kaiser, and he had to call 911, and they triaged it over the phone, and they said, fine. And they rolled up, and he was pissed because it was a $200,000 ambulance rescue vehicle. And I was like, seriously? It's like with the truck, that's all it was 200 grand? Man, I can buy 10 of those and put them in here and still spend only 30% of what they spent on the, altogether now, $6 million hook and ladder truck. And so I started to look at them. Their budget is wonderful. They're caught in the same problems that we are, but at least they have a handle over it and they can make the decisions to not continue the employ of one of their persons and save themselves, $200,000. We can't make that decision. We can't get rid of one of the 3 chiefs that they had at Gresham at one point. So.
I keep getting the feeling that they're getting over on us, and not just us, but they're getting over on you and they're getting over on the city manager. That's how I really feel. And that's why I said what I said earlier about wanting to turn around and take care of it.
Councilor President Owen.
Well, I'm not even sure where to start now. So here's the deal. I think we're all in agreement that resolution's a resolution is a resolution. So I'm going to make a motion here momentarily.
Please do.
I just wanted to say with Councilor Dennerlein, he brings up very good points. And so we do have this fire, advisory committee task force.
There's actually an acronym for it.
Ecofist.
Thank you.
And that's all fine and dandy, and in some ways, and I haven't been involved in it, but just, the snippets of information that I hear, and I, mentally in my mind, I've been on the city council for a while, and I know that we have this 5-year renewal, and I just kind of see this can getting kicked, down the road. Something will happen that's gonna cause delays, and before we know it, we'll probably be in God knows year 2 or 3, and then you probably, I don't know, maybe you can't do anything in 2 years, so now we're in this problem again. So it's just kind of a recurring issue that we have. So Councilor Dennerlein brought up a lot of good points. I'm not sure what the next steps on those should be, but I do think that it would be important to have further discussions and kind of bring out some of what's been mentioned tonight, some of the ideas and suggestions. So I just say that, I'm not sure how to go about that, and whether that's a work session, and I don't know what the answer is at this point, but a lot of this needs to be addressed, or if it has and we've forgotten, that somehow we're reminded, just to kind of bring it all back together, because this right here, I went just a little quiet on this towards the end of the deal today, and I guess while I appreciate the speaker and the information that was shared, I was a little disgusted with this to a certain extent. just because we're on this path. And this path is going to cost everyone more money, and for a lot of very good reasons that we do need to potentially pay more. But it still feels like there's so much work to be done, and maybe this is our only path, and that's what we're gonna have to do. But based on what Councilor Dennerlein mentioned, I just think there's a lot more discussion and things that we should be talking about from a council perspective first. And then maybe the task force kind of takes some of that and has additional discussion with some of the other local groups. So with that, I thought this was going to be a quick one, actually, but I'd make a motion to approve Resolution 36-2025.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passes. City manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Great discussion, and I appreciate both Councilor Owen and Dennerlein what you said. I wanted to add just a little bit of information, and then I also wanted to point out that that's the whole point of the task force, is to bring back information. And we don't have Councilor Weber here, but when we have all three, even when Councilor Weber's not here, we can definitely take the information back to that task force. First of all, to address the situation with Councilor Dennerlein with the FCC and so forth, and I was trying to provide what I can. The port owns the FCC, or the FCC, they own the
FAA.
The FAA.
I do FCC over with cable and I do FAA with the airport.
Right.
All the Fs.
FAA, thank you, excuse me, yeah. Port of Portland is, so that's why I was working with them, trying to figure out what can be done. I'm more happy to bring our fire chief, unfortunately he's leaving, as you know, but we're on the new fire chief in here. I can have a work session, answer questions and help understand. If you'd like me to, I can invite, excuse me. The other thing I wanted to say was that my approach, this is my approach, and if council cares something else, please let me know. But my approach has been really collaborative, and the reason being is because, well, I'm a collaborative person to begin with, but anyway, but more importantly than that, my concern lies with the voters. And if we have a union who's out being really in opposition to something that we're trying to do, then we lose a lot, and we can have a very likely lose this, I shouldn't say election, this voting measure. If you remember the day we had 60 plus firefighters come in here, and from that, I mean, I have been working really closely with their union representatives saying, hey, let's really talk about the focus and trying to bring the temperature down and saying, let's try to refocus and make this work. So honestly, my approach has been that, and I am truly, if you know anything about me, I am about deadlines and about timelines, and especially when I don't have a billion things going on, like just have a million maybe. But I am going to be pushing the committee. I've already talked to multiple people that we need to set some actual timelines, so we aren't just meeting every month and just talking. No, we really need to. And as you know, Eric Schmidt's leaving the end of June. So we've got that. We got the fire chief leaving. I came in this situation to address maybe a little bit for Councilor Owen. There have been, and both of you as well, there have been a lot of studies, and that's what they hired AP Triton to do, is to go in and look at all the different studies and what could be done and what are the what are our options. That's what they did. I mean, I can pull those again. I mean,
I have them in a folder.
Certainly, okay. Certainly, if council wants us to hire another consultant, we could look at that. We lack funding, but we could definitely take a look at that. But there has been a lot of groundwork that actually Greg Dirks and Ray Young did before I got here. Except for Greg, I'm now will soon be one of the longest term city managers over here, but more than happy to do that if you'd like. But there has been a lot of groundwork done. I mean, I personally reached out to multiple departments and districts trying to figure out we could do other things. I mean, I called Hillsborough, I called Vancouver. I'm like, can we do something different? Trying to figure out what we could do. But I'm more than happy to make more calls. If you see that you believe is necessary, I'd be happy to do that. But I want to know that there was a lot of groundwork laid even before I came. Eric may know some more about that information than I do, but this is the thing. Please, you feel free. Feel free to direct me how you'd like. But those are the approaches I've been trying to take. Just simply as a city manager, is trying to be trying to move us forward, because I do believe we can get this done. I don't think it's gonna take 5 years, but it's not gonna take 6 months, but I'm very, every day I'm faced with the issue of our budget. Every single thing, I literally think about it all the time, and so, not too much on Thanksgiving, but the rest of the time I do think a lot about it. But I'm acutely aware, we are constantly discussing, our departments discuss it every week, we're talking about the budget, we're talking about what's going on. It's like, how can we make this work? And so I just want you to know I'm really dedicated to making it work. I'm not gonna let it slide by. It's just like one of the top things. I hope that helps. I'm more than happy to take feedback to the committee, more than happy to do it as you direct. I'm just trying to let you know the approach I've taken thus far. I'm trying to measure in what I've understood, what I hear, what's going on, trying to make it all work, because it's an unusual situation. I mean, you read about these in big cities, like, oh, they did this great big thing. This is a big thing. This is really big. Thank you, Mayor.
And I'm just going to address 2 points real quick. One, as far as the timeline, in my conversations with the other mayors, there is a lot of, there's a lot of interest in getting this done sooner than later, because nobody wants to drag this out. But there are certain steps that we have to make, and as has been alluded, one of the things that we need to make sure of is that we don't, that we make the right steps with the parties that we have in play right now. But I don't believe it's going to take, if it takes more than 3 years, I'd be surprised. I actually see it coming in under that. But I don't want to drag this out. I actually completely agree with you. It's really weird that we are told that the most expensive rig is only used when needed, and it certainly seems to be used all the time. And so the words aren't matching the actions. I think there's some conversations that can definitely happen there. And then as far as, I definitely want, and I'll speak for Councilor Weber as well, I definitely want to hear what you guys have to say, and we could take it to the task force. But the whole idea of the task force was that the idea of getting 3 city councils together, we were never going to get anything done if too many people were involved, which was the whole point of paring it down to a smaller group, is to try to get that ball moving forward. I can say that many of the ideas that have been mentioned tonight have been mentioned in other arenas. This is not new. So these are all things, but it's so early in the process that we don't have a direction yet. Our first meeting was primarily, here's the structure, here's some ideas. We barely got into anything before we ran out of time. I fully expect next week's meeting to be highly productive, as we will have our new fire chief there, or Gresham's new fire chief there, as well as the full complement of all the appointed people for EcoFist. I love that acronym. So I fully anticipate coming back and having a lot more information to share. But yes, a lot of the things that have been shared tonight have already been talked about, and people are looking into it.
My concern, first off, I apologize to you, because, yeah, you are getting a lot of stuff thrown at you from up here going, well, you should do this. And no, we haven't necessarily. It's like, let's put our finger in the dike and get the flooding stopped and then figure out what to do. My concern, my largest, biggest concern, is that we have the fox in the henhouse. It is not in Gresham's best interest to negotiate for our best interest. They're going to negotiate so that they can keep taking our money to keep their fire department operating. And whatever minimal things they can offer to us, they will. If that means joining in a bigger district, sure. But again, where's our voice in that bigger district? If we've got a smaller district and we've got 3 cities and however many voices versus this much bigger district where we've got 4 voices and they have the rest of the chorus and they out-yell us, out-sing us. That's my biggest concern with this.
So if that's the case, are you advocating more for creating a new district as opposed to joining a district?
I'm all in favor of creating a new district. I'm all in favor. And to Councilor Owen's point, we need to use this as a template or a learning process for what's coming down the road in 2 years. And Troutdale's already started the discussions, from what I understand. Their councils may be talking about their own police department, a smile will suffice. And, you know, instead of waiting for 2 years until we go, hey, by the way, we should be using this process to help form that process so that we don't get behind the 8 ball.
Do you think it would be beneficial for us to have the new fire chief come down here and talk to us? I kind of don't think so, because we're kind of putting him in a barrel.
I would let him go talk to Ecofist and then we find out what he said.
I think at this point, no. Just my gut.
And the one other thing is I'm not concerned about the union because we're not talking about a loss of jobs. You might have to change employers. Guess what? PERS is transportable. So, I mean, it's kind of a hollow, you know, threat. It's a hollow whatever, because we're not saying we're gonna take your jobs away. We're just saying that you might have to work for somebody else. And,
Therein lies the big issue, though.
yeah,
They're very grounded to where they're at,
I understand.
and there's a
Life changes that goes on. So,
Well, I don't disagree, I mean, but
anyway.
Anything else? Do we have, oh, go ahead.
I have a motion for.
Not yet, we have one more item.
Oh.
Are there any citizens wishing to comment on non-agenda items? Are there any citizens wishing?
I'm so sorry, no, there is not.
Okay, now.
I would like to move to adjourn.
Second.
Really? All in favor, say, motion second to adjourn, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
We are done. It was time. He was due.
I was due. I gotta keep her on her toes.